Hey, what is up, guys? My name is Cameron Gallagher, and today I'm going to bring you a very interesting, sort of moody, dramatic, documentary style interview setup that we did for a COVID documentary. And I wanted to show you sort of how simple this is, but how good it looks. So, to give you some behind the scenes, basically, we were shooting in a super small room. This is the room right here. There's a refrigerator, which thankfully didn't turn on. That was my biggest fear. And the big thing we knew where they wanted was this dramatic backdrop type of interview setup, kind of like the Netflix documentaries you see, stuff like that. And we had this tiny room with windows. So when someone says windows, the immediate issue could be, well, that's either great or that could be really terrible. In this case, it actually worked out to our advantage, which is awesome. So the first thing checking out this room is that I knew we had to use as much space as we could. We did have to technically social distance, so we did have to stay as far as we could away. So we put the backdrop basically up against this back wall. There was like a copier back there, but as close as we could. And I did it from the side with the lighting from the windows. Because they never got direct sunlight, they would kind of have like a nice soft just sort of spill from the clouds. And then that way it would sort of light our backdrop, but not really light our backdrop. And that just gave us this like overall ambience, which is nice because in this case we really couldn't control these lights. It would have taken forever and we didn't have enough time or budget to block these off. So basically what I did was I set them, and we wanted to do a straight on interview. So we set them straight up, looking straight into the camera. The subject that was interviewing or interviewee was sitting right above the camera, like right above it. And basically this entire thing was lit with 300D with a glow Parapop softbox, the grid on, and we really did sort of a side lighting. You can kind of see it's very much from the side, creating that Rembrandt lighting. We'll talk about it in a second. So, shot on the Ursa Mini Pro G2, the Sigma 50mm lens. We shot this in ProRes 422 in UHD, and you can kind of see the settings there. Nothing too crazy. We're at f2.8, had some ND. Yeah. So jumping over to the actual still frame, this is a very dramatic type of interview. And there's ways that I would have done this different if it was for a different maybe subject or for something different. So the first off, we have that 300D up here. Actually, we have, let me do this sunlight. So that sunlight's just kind of coming in this way from all different angles. And it's sort of just giving us a little bit of this like edge kind of light, and again it's just like this ambience lighting up the backdrop and sort of just making things look decent. And then of course we have our actual 300D, which is up here, very high. My drawing looks terrible. So it's very high because we knew that we were going to have people with glasses, and you don't want the reflection. And yes, we got a nice eye light with that, and what that does is that creates that little shadow right here. So actually if I grab, you can kind of see like right there's that little shadow, which is the Rembrandt lighting, the nose, the nose V. So I definitely went a little more on the side. You can kind of see if you split his face, the light's hitting this side and this side's on shadow. Now in a higher key scenario, I would probably put a bounce over here somewhere. So I might put, like a bounce card or something, and then just sort of have this like, big bounce card right off screen, like right here, bouncing back light. Now, there was a wall here that did a little bit of that, but, didn't really do a ton. Now, if you wanted to go even more dramatic, so I was pretty happy with this drama, with the shadow, this contrast ratio. If you wanted to go even more drama, you could do a negative fill here and really, really, really just darken up that side of the face by putting like a flag off screen. In my case, we didn't. So again, I'm going to put this here because there was a little bit of fill coming off that wall and just kind of bouncing back and giving us a little bit extra. Now, one of the things that I really had toyed with if I should do it or not was adding a hair light. Now, I didn't add a hair light because I wanted this to feel very dramatic and very bland. The other thing was, based on space, we didn't really have a ton of space to do so. What I probably would have done is, if I go back to this, I probably would have put maybe another C-stand right behind this one and boomed up a hair light. But again, that just felt a little too high key for this subject and for this subject matter. But if you were to, you'd kind of boom something like a Quasar Science tube is probably what I'd use. Or you could even use something like an Aperture 120D or something like that and just put like a harsh light right on their shoulders to kind of give them a little bit of that separation. Again, in my case, not the biggest deal in the world. But, that would, if I click on this, that would kind of separate here and would kind of separate up here. And that would be sort of coming down like that. And you want it to be straight down, a little more controlled, but we didn't end up doing that, so it is what it is. Oh, and I'll actually reference that. This was bouncing back just a touch. So, again, in a perfect higher key world, we would have had an actual bounce, and we would have had a hair light, but because this is more dramatic, we just let the sort of natural bounce coming off that wall hit just a little bit, no hair light, that way they sort of blended into the background. And not blended, but fell into the background a little more. And then obviously we just had the big 300D key light. So this is super simple. I mean, this is literally a one light setup with a backdrop. The backdrop was like $50. I mean, the light's expensive, and obviously the camera and lens are expensive, but you could still get this same look with one light. So it just goes to show you that to do this kind of documentary type of interview setup, you don't need a ton of different lights. You just have to know how to manipulate lights. And if you really wanted to, we probably could have used the daylight coming in. We probably could have shaped that. Probably could have used negative fill, so just use some black fabric. And we probably could have used some diffusion and got away with even less. Now, granted, it might be a little bit harder, but you could do that. So it just goes to show you that shaping light is more important than the light itself. And I'm really happy with the way this came out. I think it looked really nice. I think it has a really cool look to it, and it's very dramatic, and it really hit with the tone that we were going for. So anyway, guys, that was a cool little interview setup. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. If you want to know more about some interview lighting setups or different lighting setups, I want to do some more breakdowns like this, and also some behind the scenes. We just got a ton of equipment in, and we are pretty busy. We had these shoots and then a couple other things pop up. So we're going to have a lot of behind the scenes, a big behind the scenes of a really cool music video coming soon. So if you are definitely not subscribed, subscribe for that because it's very exciting. Also, be sure to like Zach and I on Instagram. Go find us. Check us out. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later.